McLaren has announced that it will begin testing its new 720s GT3 race car in 2018 as part of its motorsport activities. It will join the 570s GT4 and will be offered to racing teams starting in 2019 via a network of specialist distributors who will also be selling the road car alongside its race car sibling. Additionally, McLaren announced a single-make racing series that will be open to owners. Along with the announcement of the 720s GT3 and the single-make racing series, McLaren said it will support new talent with the launch of its driver development program. Mike Fluid, CEO of McLaren, states that its motorsport activities, particularly the driver development program, will allow drivers to improve their skills with help from experts and the backing of properly trained technicians both on and off the track. The McLaren 720s GT3 will officially make its racing debut for the 2019 season and will be fully compliant with GT3 regulations and be eligible to compete in that class worldwide. Like the road-going version, it will feature a carbon fiber monocoque and retain its rear-wheel drive configuration. Powering the 720s GT3 will be a twin-turbo 4.0-liter V8 coupled to a 6-speed sequential transmission. For improved aerodynamics, the 720s will feature a bespoke aerodynamic package. The suspension will feature adjustable dampers and coilover springs on all 4 corners. In the beginning, only 10 retailers will be able to offer motorsport support to owners, the first being McLaren of Glasgow, Scotland. In North America, dealerships in Dallas, Newport Beach, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Scottsdale, and Toronto will be the first to offer owners motorsport-related services. Only 2 dealers in the Asia-Pacific region will offer motorsport services, including Melbourne, Australia, and Auckland, New Zealand. Starting in 2018, the Pure McLaren GT Race Series will officially launch with events at European race circuits. McLaren says the series is aimed at owners with extensive track driving experience looking to enter professional racing with the support of the automaker. In order to be eligible to enter, McLaren owners need to have an international D-grade license. After joining, owners will be able to access vehicles maintained and run by McLaren engineers and technicians in order to help them concentrate on improving their driving skills. McLaren will announce venues and dates for the first races of the Pure McLaren GT Series in the future. Alongside the launch of its single-make racing series, McLaren will launch the driver development program with 4 young drivers it has chosen. They will compete in the 2018 season using 2 McLaren 570s GT4 race cars. The driver development program will identify talented drivers and provide them with motorsport education and driver support, which includes getting assigned a professional mentor from the automaker's driver stable, fitness and nutrition assessments and advice, and sponsorship support and guidance. Assessments will be conducted regularly so that drivers can find ways to improve, and the racers in training will have access to simulators and engineering teams to help them improve race strategies and telemetry. Next year, McLaren will launch a competition to determine which drivers will participate in the 2019 motorsport season. Aston Martin's current Vantage, launched in 2005, has long suffered an identity crisis. With design cues cribbed from the larger, more expensive DB Gran Turismos, and powertrain and suspension hardware that never quite delivered the precision and performance expected of a car intended to tackle Porsche's quicker 911s and entry-level Ferraris, the entry-level Aston struggled to make a convincing case as a pure sports car. The 2019 Aston Martin Vantage changes all that. With unique styling that's shrink-wrap sex appeal, and a chassis and powertrain optimized for performance and handling, the new Vantage is most definitely an Aston Martin on a mission. The new Vantage rolls on a version of the new DB11 platform that's been shortened 4 inches. Though the front 2/3 of the platform is effectively shared with the DB11 V8. Aston Martin claims 70% of its components are new or have been upgraded. Among the key changes are a completely new rear-end structure that features a solidly mounted rear subframe, and a repositioned gas tank. The Vantage also gets an e-diff, the first ever fitted to an Aston Martin, and rolls on specially developed 20-inch Pirelli P0 tires. Under the hood is the AMG developed 503 HP 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 engine that also powers the new DB11 V8. The engine is set low, and as far back in the chassis as possible, to help deliver perfect 50/50 weight distribution. Peak power arrives at 6,000 RPM, and peak torque of 505 lb-ft is developed between 2,000 RPM and 5,000 RPM. As in the DB11S, the engine drives the rear wheels via a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. Aston Martin claims the new Vantage weighs about 3,400 pounds and is capable of accelerating from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds, and reaching a top speed of 195 mph. In addition to the engine, the Vantage's electronic architecture is also sourced from Daimler, which owns a 5% stake in Aston Martin. That has given Aston Martin Dynamics engineers the ability to integrate the adaptive shocks, e-diff, stability control, active torque vectoring, and electronic power steering functions to deliver optimal performance. Unlike the DB11, the Vantage does not have a comfort mode. Instead, drivers are offered the choice of Sport, Sport Plus, and Track modes. That reflects the Vantage's mission. "This is our Porsche 911 fighter," says lead dynamic development engineer Paul Fleming. "When you jump in it, it feels like a sports car, but it's usable, like a 911. The 911 Carrera S and GTS were the benchmark vehicles during the Vantage's development program, though Fleming's team also evaluated the Ferrari 488 and California McLaren 650s and the Mercedes-AMG GTS. The suspension is considerably stiffer than that of the DB cars. The Vantage has similar roll stiffness as a 911, but Fleming says he's managed to dial out some of the impact harshness that's characteristic of the Porsches. The Vantage is not going to be the plushest car in the world, he admits, but it's comfortable enough, and if you drive it quickly it's going to give you the control you need." The design team led by Marek Reichman has tightly wrapped all the mechanicals with bodywork that is unmistakably, flamboyantly Aston Martin, but unique to the Vantage. The front graphic is an especially bold take on the Aston Martin grille, and is likely to be the most polarizing feature of the car. At the rear is a full-width tail light that kinks up and along the trailing edge of the integrated rear spoiler and artfully mimics the top line of the grille. The aggressively gestured side view is dominated by large gills on the front fender that are used to bleed air from the front wheel wells. The Vantage does not have active aerodynamics like the DB11. Instead, it relies on a carefully constructed aerodynamic underfloor, with turning vanes and diffusers directing the airflow. At 100 miles per hour, says Paul Fleming, the Vantage develops about 22 pounds of downforce on the front axle, and 66 pounds at the rear. Inside is a more extroverted, sportier interior than previously seen in a modern Aston. The 8.0-inch LCD screen at the center of the dash and the infotainment controls on the center console are from the Daimler parts bin, but most everything else looks unique to Aston. As in the DB11S, the instrument panel is all digital, and dominated by a large central touch/speedo that's flanked by two display screens. In addition to navigation, Bluetooth audio and Wi-Fi, standard equipment includes keyless start/stop, tire pressure monitoring, and park assist systems. Being an Aston, the Vantage interior of course features sumptuous leather and Alcantara trim. The 2019 Aston Martin Vantage is available for sale now in the United States, priced from $149,995. The first cars are expected to arrive stateside in the third quarter of 2018. The Infiniti QX50 gets an all-new platform and a VC turbo variable compression ratio engine for 2019. The crossover looks similar to the concept that was unveiled at this year's Detroit Auto Show. This one sports more conventional headlights, wheels, and less chrome around the lower grille. There's very little resemblance to the old model and its EX35 forebear, with the 2019 QX50 looking more like a traditional crossover and less like a lifted wagon. Weight figures and pricing haven't been announced yet for the midsize CUV, but we do know that it features a new VC turbo variable compression ratio engine. The turbocharged 2.0-liter inline 4-cylinder engine adjusts its compression ratio to optimize power and efficiency. It delivers 268 HP and 280 lb-ft of torque and is mated to a continuously variable transmission, CVT. Infiniti claims that the all-wheel drive version can sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.3 seconds, while front-wheel drive models will need 6.7 seconds. It has a top speed of 143 miles per hour, which should be plenty fast for this vehicle's target market. Variable compression ratio technology represents a breakthrough in powertrain development, said Randy Parker, Infiniti Vice President, in a statement. The QX50, powered by our VC turbo, is the first production vehicle ever to give drivers an engine that transforms on demand, setting a new benchmark for powertrain capability and refinement. The QX50 will also come with Infiniti's ProPilot Assist semi-autonomous technologies, which Infiniti's Vice President of Product and Programs François Bankin says are intended to empower the driver and enhance feelings of pleasure behind the wheel. The 2019 QX50 measures 184.8 long, 66.1 inches tall, and 74.9 inches wide, and has a 110.2-inch wheelbase. Ground clearance comes in at 8.6 inches. There's room in the back for 3 golf bags or a stroller stored lengthwise, according to Infiniti. The trunk's volume expands from 31.6 cubic feet to 37 cubic feet when the rear bench is slid all the way forward, 60 cubic feet when the rear seats are folded down. Infiniti also claims that the 2019 QX50 FWD SUV gets 27/27 mpg city/highway and the AWD version gets 26/26 mpg city/highway. The Lincoln MKC might be based on the Ford Escape, but when we first drove the MKC back in 2014, we were impressed with how well it differentiated itself from its non-luxury sibling. It wasn't competitive enough to win our most recent comparison test, but with a comfortable ride and generally attractive styling, it moves the brand in the right direction. But now that the MKC has been out for a few years, Lincoln's given its compact crossover a mid-cycle refresh. The biggest changes you'll see are to the 2019 Lincoln MKC's exterior. The current model isn't exactly lacking in the styling department, but it doesn't have the new corporate grille that made its debut on the Continental. The new MKC changes that, tweaking the rest of the front end styling to integrate the new nose. The restyled front end isn't revolutionary, but it works well, especially when you consider that the rest of the car was designed with a different grille in mind. The rest of the exterior stays pretty much the same, with Lincoln only adding some chrome trim and subtly different lighting. In general, Lincoln left the MKC's cabin untouched. It already offers an exceptionally quiet, well-executed interior, so the lack of changes isn't a major issue. The same goes for the powertrains. Buyers can still choose between the 245 HP turbocharged 2.0-liter or the 285 HP turbocharged 2.3-liter 4-cylinder. The updated 2019 MKC is also still available in black label trim, allowing buyers to choose from 3 different themes that add high-end leather and wood accents to the cabin. Lincoln also offers its fair share of safety features and modern technologies such as automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring, and rear cross-traffic alert. An 8.0-inch touchscreen with SYNC3 is also still standard and includes Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. There's also an app called Lincoln Way, which allows owners to remotely control different features of their car. But ultimately, the updated 2019 MKC is pretty much the same as the current model. It gets new front-end styling, but that's the only significant change you'll see on the 2019 Lincoln MKC. We would have preferred to see improvements made to the handling, power delivery, and button-heavy center console, but it looks like we'll have to wait for the redesign to see those issues addressed. Subaru has given us our best look yet at what to expect on the new Ascent before it debuts at the LA Auto Show next week. The teaser image above shows the three-row crossover looking much like a conventional Subaru. It's hard to glean much from the shadowy image, but the headlights don't look like the ones on the Radical Ascent concept that debuted in April. The model also appears boxier than the concept with a less shapely liftgate and D-pillar, although it looks like the concept's character line accentuating the wheel arches made it to production. Inside, we can see brown leather seats, hinting that Subaru has given this crossover the premium treatment. Expect power to come from a new turbocharged horizontally opposed 2.4-liter flat-4 with direct injection. No other powertrain details have been revealed at this time. Much like Volkswagen's new Atlas, the 2019 Subaru Ascent was made specifically for the North American market. Subaru will begin production of the SUV in Lafayette, Indiana, starting in 2018. The Ascent will fill the gap left by the Tribeca that was discontinued in 2014. This model had only a small third row, so Subaru is calling the Ascent its first full three-row SUV. The 2019 Subaru Ascent will debut on November 28 ahead of the 2017 LA Auto Show public days.